Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. It's such an honor to be on the Bima. And as I began to think about this opportunity, I reviewed Rabbi Josh's thoughts on how to write a drash. And not surprisingly, he suggests the first thing to do is to find the portion and to read the portion. But I wasn't sure I had the right portion. So who did I reach out to? Who does everybody at OSE reach out to? I called John. And John referred me to this week's portion called Tazara Leviticus. Ethan, you probably know this. It's every mitzvah kid's nightmare. This is the one that deals with boils and leprosy and childbirth and women being unclean. Oh dear. I remember a story actually about this portion from my childhood coming from my Orthodox raised parents. And like many post-World War II people of their generation, they worried that Reform Judaism was going to dilute the religion. And they worried that we would lose even more of our heritage. And I remember overhearing my dad loudly criticizing a Reform rabbi because this rabbi didn't like this portion and so decided to skip it because he didn't think that it was appropriate for whatever reason. Hearing my dad's voice in my head as I thought about this almost made this a bit of beshert because now here I am trying to figure it out. Rabbi Josh suggests that we be aware of questions that come up in our head as we read the portion. And I happened to be researching this, or beginning to research this Sunday, which was the day of the Rosh Chodesh Women's Seder. And I also was making soup for our family Seder. So the thing that came into my mind was the timing. How is the timing relevant that this portion, at least this year, comes so close to Pesach? And that brought me to think about plagues and blessings. Of course, the plagues in the Passover story and the blessings that Seder brings to me and my family and our wider community. So what is a plague anyway? How do you distinguish a plague from just the really awful things that happen? Can a plague be personal? Or does a plague have to be communal? How do you define plague? So take a moment just with yourself to think about your own definition of a plague. Do you have any examples? And when you're ready, turn to somebody who's sitting next to you, say hi in the Oseh Shalom way, and listen to what their definition is of plague and share yours. Well, go ahead and do that now, please, just for a moment. What is a plague? So hopefully the folks at Zoom or home are doing the same thing. Just take a moment to finish up and we'll come back together. So how do we at OSE define a plague? Anybody want to share any ideas? What are your thoughts on what is a plague? Sorry? A disaster that affects the community. So in John's view, it's communal. Yeah, a disaster. Yeah. 9/11. Yeah. Any others? Yeah, Eric? Anything that represses the truth, individually or communally. Interesting. Any others? Please. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something chronic, a chronic illness. It really does weigh you down and tear you down. And the idea of music and not really paying attention to what's going on. Yeah, yeah. Lots of really good ideas about plagues. Well, when the Torah was written down, a highly contagious disease, highly contagious skin disease, certainly could be described as a plague. And it certainly needed community regulations to protect both the individual people and the community at large. Thanks to Ray Wax, I found a commentary by a Rabbi Stephen Carr Rubin, a Reconstructionist rabbi. And he says that the true underlying lesson of this portion is about our deeply rooted need to find ways of bringing people who are infirm or excluded back to the community. He suggests it's really not about exclusion, but just the opposite. How can we help people heal, both physically and spiritually, after a plague? And what kind of work do each of us individually need to do to welcome the former excluded back? He really stands the portion on its head in terms of inclusion rather than exclusion. And sadly, there are too many plagues in the world today. War and its aftermath in too many places, and hateful words and actions in our country and in others. We have so much exclusion in the world and in our communities. And the rabbi that my dad criticized was wrong. There's much in this portion that's relevant and much for us to consider. The Torah portion also says that there were special rituals in the sanctuary, excuse me, to celebrate the end of people's affliction and to welcome them back. Maybe we should be thinking about that in our own families, in our own communities. I don't know about you, but personally, I'm really, really good at holding a grudge. It's one of my highly honed life skills, yeah. I'm just really, really good at it. Reflecting on what Rabbi Rubin had to say, though, made me think about the grudges that I hold and how they might get in the way of inclusion. And so some of the personal work for me to think about is how can I move my thoughts and my actions from exclusion to belonging? And what does that mean in this community? It seems that the only other rules in this portion have to do with childbirth, another lovely thing to mitzvah kids to consider. I don't know why you're doing about that even. The rules require that a woman bring a sin offering and make atonement after giving birth. Really? We're asked to be fruitful and multiply, and yet the woman who bears the brunt of pregnancy and childhood is required to atone. What for? What is she atoning for? Well, Rabbi Rubin suggests that the power of childbirth is transcendent. And with that power, that comes only, he says, from giving birth, is a realization of how blind we are to the other miracles of life. And that requires the woman to give atonement, to bring a sin offering, because she has been blind to too many other blessings in life. Well, I will admit that I'm blind to too many blessings in my life, but I can't agree that after childhood, that means I have to atone. As the biological mom of 3 and the grandma of 8, I absolutely agree that for many, many people, bringing a new soul to this earth is a miracle. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a time of great appreciation and gratitude. And so perhaps this portion is meant to heighten a woman's awareness after childhood of gratitude. And that heightened awareness is something that the woman can share with those who are close to her and with the wider community. Perhaps Rather than requiring atonement, it's a time for tikkun olam, a time to share the blessings with those less fortunate. But I would suggest that she wait until the baby sleeps through the night. Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Dr. Caitlin.